Well, hello, welcome back to our daily encouragement channel. We're doing things a little bit differently due to circumstances a little bit beyond my control. Basically, schedule coming up a little bit busier than normal, and I didn't get to make this video ahead of time, so we're doing it at an undisclosed location. I'm kidding, but do know that my hands are free, so if at some point this video blips, it's probably because I had to pause it and start over or start again or continue from where I cut off due to the phone falling down or something, as I have it set up in a holder. But we do want to take a moment to thank you first off for continuing to join our channel. Hopefully this has been encouragement to you. Typically, I don't reveal the date in the video that I'm recording, just so that it could be relevant no matter what day of the week you're listening or watching. But today, we're going to not do it that way and recognize that today is September 11th. And first off, take a moment to remember those that lost their lives on that day. It seems the further it gets away that it's almost like surreal that it ever happened. But it did happen. There were lives that were lost. There were families that were changed forever. Whether it was someone that died in the building as an innocent civilian, or it was a first responder that was doing their best to take care of trying to save others that were that perished in the midst of everything. So I do want to take a moment. If you are related to one of those people, I sorrow with you today. I thank you for the sacrifice that your family member made. Whether they were a first responder that had given their life to rescue others in the cause of what they were serving as a first responder, or if they were a civilian who today stands as a reminder of just what our country can do when our mind is set forward to doing something. I don't want to make this just about those lives that were lost, but we've all heard the story of those that prevented what seemed to be a plane crash, either heading towards the White House or towards or DC in general, wherever it was heading. There were those few that decided, not on my watch, and they made a sacrifice. And to you, I thank you. I thank your I thank the family members of those, because you had to live without that family member as they stood up and represented what we as Americans should be representing. As I think about the tragedy of yesterday and the assassination, let's call it what it is. It was an assassination of Charlie Kirk. As we think about the senseless violence that's occurred over the last few weeks, people whose lives were ended, and there was nothing noble about why they died. There was nothing. Let me take that back. I heard even yesterday or the day before, I heard a story of one child who, in the midst of the shooting, jumped on his friend to try to save his friend's life. I don't know if that young man lived, but if he didn't, that was a noble. Why he died was saving the life of his friend. But the reason why anybody died in that violence was not noble. That violence was not necessary. What happened yesterday was not necessary. What happened on 9/11 was not necessary. And what I'm going to say here may not be an encouragement to you, but it's intended to be. Maybe it's because we as Christians aren't doing the job that we're supposed to be doing. Maybe we're not living like we should be living. How is that an encouragement? It's because it's not too late. As you and I live and breathe today, we can be those people that live Christ-like, like we're supposed to. We go and we tell others about the Christ who died for their sins. we go and tell others about the Jesus that Charlie talked about, that many that have gone before us, some in senseless acts of violence, some their time had come and they went home to be with Jesus. They've given us the message. What are we doing with it? See, if we were to continue in our passages of Scripture, we would get to Matthew chapter 19. And Matthew 19, or not 19, I'm sorry, Matthew 17. And what we read there is what's known as the Transfiguration. It's where Jesus showed a little bit of his glory to his disciples. And they were able to marvel and make like, wow, this is terrific. And they kind of misunderstood the message Jesus was giving to them. And then after they grasped that, because that's not the lesson I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about is the next piece, where there was a sick man that came to the disciples and they couldn't heal him. They couldn't provide healing, and Jesus did it. And they said, Lord, why couldn't we do this? And he said to them, O ye of little faith. And that's where we read about the faith, the size of the grain of a mustard seed. And I wonder, how big is your faith today? See, I've told you before, I'm a sports fan. And one of the things about following sports is you see a lot of athletes with egos. Now, what's their ego in? It's, of course, their ability, their talents. The stuff that whether God gave to them directly from their birth or given them the ability as they've practiced and worked to be able to excel at whatever their craft is. There is a work behind it. There is a duty behind it, but there's ultimately a blessing from God that he's given to those people. And their ego, their confidence is in that ability. Whether it's to shoot a ball, to dribble a ball, whether it's in baseball, to hit a ball, to catch a ball, to pitch the ball. In football, whether it's the speed to run away, whether it's the athletic ability to juke and to jive or to tackle, or maybe you're the quarterback and you're able to process in your mind all the things going on and be able to make a decision really quick. And then you've also had the strength of your arm to make a great pass, or to make multiple great passes, or whatever it is. Those athletes have that ego, that confidence in their ability. And you know what? That's those times when you see great moments happen. That's when you see some of the amazing things happen, is because they have that faith to know that they can do it, that ability to know they can do it. It was said by, I think it was Wayne Gretzky that said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. He was saying that if you don't take the shot, you're never going to make it. In other words, you can't win the game. You can't succeed if you don't play, if you don't try. Let's take this back to the story in the Bible. These disciples of Jesus were not able to see the great things that God had planned for them, because as he said, "O ye of little faith." Some of you under the sound of my voice are called to do great and mighty things which you may not even know yet. It may not be something for you to do today or tomorrow. It may be 3 or 4 years down the line as you continue to grow and you continue to gain, whether it's life experience, whether it's school knowledge, whatever it is. There's a path that you need to follow, and there's a goal that God has at the end that he's going to use you greatly if you have faith and trust in him that he's going to do that for you. Maybe you're in a spot where you're like, Lewis, you don't know what I'm dealing with. You don't know my family situation, my financial situation. You don't know me. You don't know my mindset. You know, there was the longest time where I never thought I would be talented enough to do any kind of ministry, whether it was preaching or teaching or music or anything, because there were so many people I saw that were so much more talented than I was. So why would I think, oh yeah, this is what God's called me to do? He wants me to be the speaker or whatever. And you know what? I still don't consider myself great at it or wonderful at it, but I know that God's given me a calling and He's given me an ability to do some of these things. And ultimately, when I'm up there, if I'm preaching, it's not me, because I'm relying on Him to give me a message. I'm relying on Him to give me guidance as to what He would want for me to say. If it's while singing, it's not my great talented voice or my awesome this or that. No, it's God working through the message and working through my feeble attempts to receive glory and to put a message out there. So my encouragement to you, as we think of the tragedies that have occurred, I bet you if you talked to Charlie when he was younger, he may not have envisioned himself having the impact that he's had. And I believe he's going to continue to have even after his death, because there are so many people whose lives he impacted that are going to be giving the message that he gave to them. There's going to be co-workers or people in his company that are going to go forward and proclaim the truth, not the truth of how great Charlie was, but the truth of how great his God is. And I bet you it's the same thing. I mean, I'm not claiming to know him, and I don't want to disparage him in any way, because I didn't know the man, but I know the testimony he left behind, and I hear the words that are said about him, and I hear the messages that are said about him. My challenge to you today, my encouragement to you today, is that could be you too. Maybe not to the same extent. Maybe you don't have the national audience or international audience that he had. But can you impact your family? Can you impact your neighborhood? Can you impact whether it's your school or your workplace? Remember, faith the size, the grain of a mustard seed. Can you do that today? Thank you again for taking the time to watch. Sorry for the unique environment here. I intend to try to do more similar things like this. We'll see what happens. But until the next time, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. God bless. Have a great day.